So we've been talking about gastric ulcers and we've been talking about omeprazole. And so I had a follower write in and ask about Nexium. And what she stated was that Nexium has been a game changer for her and her horse's ulcers, and that her horse can't have alfalfa, but that her horse has been really having a problem with ulcers for over a year. And she wanted to know my opinion on omeprazole. So hi, I'm Dr. Rebecca Douglas. I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and I've been doing integrative and alternative medicine on horses and humans for 23 plus years. So Nexium is esomeprazole. It's in the same category as omeprazole and works in a very similar way. And there is some horses that seem to respond better to that than just omeprazole. But both are proton pump inhibitors, so PPIs, that block the proton pumps in the stomach's parietal cells, and they dramatically reduce stomach acid production. One concern I have is that PPIs do not replace the stomach's natural protective mechanisms. So the horse already has several biologic systems designed to protect the stomach lining from injury, right? This is how their stomach can handle the gastric acids that their body produces. And this includes things like mucus production, bicarbonate secretion, healthy blood flow to the stomach lining, prostaglandins, tight junction integrity, and normal tissue repair mechanisms. So while omeprazole and esomeprazole, Nexium, absolutely have a role in ulcer treatment, I become concerned when a horse requires repeated or prolonged use. If I had a horse that continually struggled with ulcers, I would start asking why the injury keeps reoccurring. So why do they keep getting ulcers? Did the original ulcers never fully heal? Or why is the horse's normal protective mechanisms failing or not adequately protecting the stomach lining? Those protective mechanisms include the mucus layer that physically protects the stomach lining, things like bicarbonate that help neutralize acid at the tissue surface, healthy blood flow that delivers oxygen and nutrients needed for repair, and prostaglandins that help regulate mucus production. Of course, they also help with bicarbonate secretion, blood flow, and mucosal healing. If those systems aren't functioning properly, then simply lowering the stomach acid may not completely address the underlying problem. I would also want to ask whether there are ongoing sources of physiological stress. That could include things like chronic pain, inflammation, metabolic dysfunction even, illness, social stress, management stress, or just nervous system dysregulation. And then I'd ask whether the stomach is the only issue. Maybe the horse has hindgut dysfunction, microbiome disruption, maybe increased intestinal permeability, or any other factors affecting the health of the GI tract. So I'm not against these medications. They can be incredibly valuable tools. But when symptoms continually return, that tells me we got to dig a little deeper. We got to understand why the horse's normal protective mechanisms and healing mechanisms are not maintaining the gastrointestinal health, because they're supposed to. As for alfalfa, many ulcer horses benefit from it because of the protein and the calcium content that can help buffer the stomach acid. However, alfalfa is not the only way to support a horse with ulcers, and it sounds like in this case that maybe they're contributing to it. Some horses don't tolerate alfalfa well or have other reasons that it might not be appropriate for them. So in those cases, I would focus less on the alfalfa itself, more on the bigger picture of like adequate forage intake, minimizing long periods without feed, addressing any stressors, supporting normal gastric protection, and identifying why the ulcers developed in the first place. And in some cases, veterinarians may also use other medications such as sucralfate or misoprostol. And sucralfate acts like a protective bandage, adhering to the damaged areas of the stomach lining and helping shield them while they actually heal. Misoprostol is a synthetic prostaglandin, so it's going to act like the prostaglandins would in the digestive tract, and it helps support some of the stomach's natural protective mechanisms. So this includes things like mucus production, bicarbonate secretion, and blood flow. Like all medications, however, both can have potential side effects and are not appropriate for every horse. So their use should totally be discussed with your veterinarian. So I'm going to say that again. Please discuss these medications with your vet as to their appropriateness for your horse. The good news is that there are often additional options besides just medication, depending on the individual horse. That could include things like nutritional support, targeted supplementation, herbal support, addressing sources of pain or stress, supporting the microbiome, or improving overall metabolic and gastrointestinal health. So the challenge is that the appropriate approach really depends on the individual horse, its history, its management, its diet, and the factors contributing to the problem in the first place. And that's going to vary a little bit. So this is rarely a single protocol type thing that works for every horse, and is why I shy away from some of those herbal formulas out there that say, hey, use this and this is good for ulcers. I'm not a big fan of that, because every horse can be individual as to what they actually need. So this is why I'm working on putting together some training in this, because I think that a functional and integrative approach to this is so important. Plus, it gives you guys all the options.